The hardest part about coming off any substance, I think we can all agree, is the withdrawal. And I think we have to understand that it's just our bodies trying to heal. It's not our bodies trying to get mad at us and trying to punish us. It's just our bodies trying to heal and go back to the way it was before we took whatever we took. And we could be coming off of whatever, like even food and sugar cravings, like bad habits, drugs, alcohol. I mean, there's so many different things. Even just our the things, our routines that we used to do sometimes can interrupt our lives and make us feel like we're just we don't know what to do and we're in such chaos. And in reality, it's just the way our body is just telling us like, hey, let me normalize myself, let me get my nervous system under control, and let me heal, and then we can go on to the next step. And I think a lot of us is we're so primed to be impulsive that we want that change to be right away. And a lot of the times it doesn't happen right away. And we're sitting there like, come on, like do your thing. I'm making the change. I'm cutting the thing out. I'm stopped drinking. Now I want to feel normal again. And that's what people who don't drink, who don't have never dealt with addiction or dealt with coming off some substance, is that it takes a while. And it's that while in between that ends up us going back to whatever it was because we feel like shit. And it could take sometimes more than a while. And we're sitting there wondering, like, hey, when is this going to go back to normal? I want to start doing stuff again. I want to start living my new life. And in order for you to live your new life, you have to go through this phase. And I think you have to kind of look at it like I'm purging out the old me, and the new me, I have to go through this to in order to accept the new identity. Because the old identity, let's say for someone who was shooting up heroin and doing crack all day, of course they're gonna have a bad time when the day they decide I can't do this anymore. Because eventually either they're gonna have to stop or they're gonna end up on the street. There's no different, or they're gonna die. And for the people who recovered, eventually they said, I gotta stop. And it's not gonna be fun. There's no way that someone said I'm gonna stop and it'll be okay and my brain will just balance itself out. No, it's gonna take time for it to figure things out. Like, where's the dopamine coming from now? Where's serotonin coming from? I have to figure out how to do things without having the dopamine, without the serotonin. And then it's just got to, you have to figure how to be, just live life for a time period without having those crutches. And the thing is that it's so easy for us to always want to go back because that's where the fun seem like, and they call it positive pleasurable recall, and we forget all the negative things that happen. We remember all the good moments, remember the rush, but then we forget, oh yeah, I ended up in prison and I ended up losing my license, I ended up losing my family. Forget about that, but then I remember that rush, and then you go back and do it and then you're like, this wasn't even worth it. And if you've ever done that, every single time you're like, it's not even worth it. But then for some reason, you're like, well, let me try again. You try again, and it's not worth it. And you would think someone would say, a person would say, well, then I'm going to stop. But of course, not with addiction. You end up keep trying, thinking that maybe the third time, maybe you need other stuff, maybe you need to do more. And you're like, well, I already tried for 6 months and it didn't work. I was horrible. I didn't feel better. And I thought quitting was supposed to make me feel better. Well, quitting doesn't make you feel better naturally right away. It will over time. And that's where you build your confidence on being the person that you said you were going to be, and still going through it with having that pain. Because I've stop antidepressants, benzos, opiates, all different types of opiates. I'm writing a book on 7-OH, if you've heard of that, and how powerful that shit is. And that coming off of that was horrible. Suboxone, which is even, if you ever even know anything about Suboxone, that stuff is like, to come off of that is like insane. And Adderall, same thing. Is like our brains just have to, took so long to kind of recalibrate, and then you have to learn how to do things without that. And because they were a crutch, they were there to help us do things without. I mean, maybe we needed something, but a lot of the stuff we didn't really need. It just was so much easier. And really, it's not the drug; it's the relief we get. And a lot of us that go to addiction, we're more. I think we're more introverted. We feel we're more lonely, and then what happens is you quit, and then you think like, okay, life is going to change, and while after while, it takes a long time, and finally you start seeing some qualities improve, but it doesn't change like you thought it would. You thought it would be like, oh my god, I'm a new person, blah blah blah. But if you do not find purpose in this, if you go through this process and you do not find any purpose, then you're always going to go back, because then what is the meaning of it? Because you've gone through so much pain, you have so much trauma, and you don't have anything to really look forward to. And the purpose is what keeps us going. And if you see people with purpose, they they have ability to find momentum when they don't have it. It's there's no momentum there, but somehow they have it. They have ability to create things when they're not creative. They have ability to just do things when they're not supposed to, just because they have purpose. They have something to get up and do. Because without purpose, there is nothing else in life. And I think a lot of people don't realize that. I think some people just are fine the way they are without having purpose. But for people that have lived pretty hectic lives, I think that purpose gives us something to want to live for when we've been through hell and probably many times just did not want to live or did not care if we woke up. And when you get out of it, you're kind of like, I went through those things, and I feel like I went through those things for a reason. And regardless if that's true or not, it's true for me. It gives me purpose so that I can move on with my life, and then I can do whatever it is that I want to do, and bring value to other people. Where if someone's sitting around and they get sober, and then they're just like, what do I do all day? I kind of still feel like shit. I don't really relate to most people, and maybe you relate to the people at AA or whatever, but you don't really relate to a lot of people, and then you're kind of like, I don't see the point in any of this. Because if you've been through the ringer, you got to find something. You got to find some reason to get up in the morning. Where most people are kind of just shut off, we're not shut off. Our brain, our consciousness is like, boom, it's like radiating, and it's the curse of the gifted. It's like, and either way you want to put it, it could be a curse, but it could also be a gift. I mean, if you see Eminem, and regardless if you like rap or not, you have to admit, like, the way he writes and the things that he's been through, the trauma he's been through. He was addicted to so many different drugs, and he almost died. And he talks about when he went through benzo withdrawals, and he just sat for, I think it was 2 weeks straight, staring at a wall. And he said he just stared at the wall like this for 2 weeks straight. I mean, imagine that, 2 weeks straight. It's like, and he somehow made it through. He made it out, and it's for him to come back and tell us that story. I think whenever I see that, it makes me so much more like, makes me respect him more, and it shows me that why he did it was not just because he wanted to be famous. He didn't want a nice car, didn't want money and women. He did it because he wanted to help people. Really, he did, because he knew there was other people out there that were going to listen to his music, that were going to probably raised in a trailer park, and maybe had a lot of trauma and dealt with addiction and couldn't find a way out or didn't have anyone to talk to. And instead of almost killing himself, maybe he would, like, his song would inspire people to look that there's a way out. And I think he has, because he has a song Recovery. And if you look at the comments on YouTube, there's so many people that have said, like, the song's changed my life. And you could tell he means it in his lyrics. It's something that but he had to live it. And the thing is most people don't have stories like someone like you or me, if you've lived it. And I have endless and endless of stories. And I'm sure if you've been through anything like me, you would too. Of course you would, because that's just like part of the I don't know what you want to say. It's just part of the game. And but with that, it comes a lot of growing opportunities, because you have a lot of wisdom. So you have a lot of wisdom and understanding of a lot of areas, and you could teach people a lot of these things that other people can't, because other people have never been there. Other people haven't never dealt with so much pain and try to figure out, how am I going to get out of this? How am I going to get out of this one? Like, put myself in a horrible spot. How am I going to get out? And they call it post-acute withdrawal syndrome, and that could go on, who knows, six. I don't like to think about it like that, because that just makes me feel like I'm telling myself, to my brain, that I'm just going to feel horrible for the next 6 months or a year, and that's it. And I think partly, if we tell ourselves that, then we're going to believe it, and we're going to train ourselves to look forward to that, and then we're going to be unmotivated and unhappy and this and that. And who says you have to be happy anyways? I'm not happy most times. I don't wake up and get out of the house smiling. I'm more happy, more content when I'm with my dog. Although yesterday I was with my dog, and my dog chased this other guy's dog, and his girlfriend said, "Oh, it's her first time at the dog park." And she was really nice, and Rocky chased her. This little dog didn't bite her like anything, and then he did it again, and the dog it's a new puppy. She's scared, and didn't bite her. The guy turned around to me and said, he said, you better be careful. He said, I'm gonna shoot your dog if he does that again. And I was like, well, I was in a bad mood right at then and there, and I was just kind of like, well, I'm going through some withdrawals of my own. So I said, well, you're going to be doing a lot of time if you did that. And he's like, I don't care. I said, well, prison awaits you then. And he stopped, like he was going to like pull his gun on me. I thought, well, go ahead. Take me out of my misery. But in all reality, I try not to get sucked up into that that guy's not even dealing with withdrawals, and he's talking about shooting dogs. So I mean, that guy has his own problems. So that's a person who has not been through shit, and so they can't even handle something like that. So that means that you have something. And there's a clip on YouTube where this guy says, he's like, if you made it through addiction, you have something. And I believe that, because I believe that if you're still here and you're still alive, you still have the ability to offer something. But just don't think that, okay, I'm off it, everything's going to be good, or I'm off it and in 1 year everything's going to be good. I think that you just got to deal with the days as they are. And I used to beat myself up because I'd wake up and I'd be like, well, I'm feeling horrible today. So then I would just mark the day off as horrible, maybe do nothing, maybe lazy. And instead, it's maybe some days are going to be better than others, yes, but doesn't mean that you have to just grant it off that it's a horrible day. And I think that it's just then you're just kind of priming yourself that every day is horrible, and sometimes maybe you just gotta live with it and just be like, it's horrible, but I have a purpose. And think people have lived horrible lives and still live with purpose. And I remember reading a quote that said living is not about happiness, it's about suffering, but suffering with purpose. And I think that was from a concentration camp. I don't know. If you watch this video, you can tell me if you remember it. But I thought that was very that was the right wording, because it's not about happiness. It's about suffering through purpose. And so we're not supposed to just live for happiness. And I think we in the world today we've created that. Everyone will be happy and have nothing. And it's like everyone should be suffering for a purpose. What a different way of living. But who's going to be doing that? No one wants to actively suffer. And suffering is what we're avoiding when we're trying to go get drugged. We're trying to relieve the suffering. And you can't. You suffering is inevitable. You're going to suffer regardless. I think with people with addiction is we've automatically put ourselves through suffering. So therefore, if there was a rock bottom, you're going to hit it more so than anyone else was going to hit it. And if you're going to suffer, you're going to suffer any more than anyone else is going to suffer. Because coming off of 7-OH, and like I said, I just wrote a book on that. If you ever done that, that's like heroin, gas station heroin, benzos. I mean, that's suffering in itself. And but when I lost my dog, I watched a video earlier of me losing my other dog, not Rocky, but my other dog, and I started crying because that again was suffering. So in life, we're suffering, but we see the world, and it always seems like everyone's having a blast. And I'm thinking, what if they doing this is so freaking fun? I must be like left out of this the in crowd that's just so happy. And maybe it's just my dopamine receptors are just, maybe they have just an unlimited dopamine receptor. I know mine are probably burned out, but you could still do stuff without dopamine receptors, and you could still have relief without serotonin. And I think that's why I go to the gym, because that's my way to produce endorphins and feel somewhat good. But anyways, don't think that you're going to be feeling good if you're withdrawing through anything. Just think of it as your body's detoxing, your body's healing, and then the post-acute withdrawal phase. Don't expect, oh, I'm going to be feeling like crap for another 6 months or a year, because you do that, you're just automatically going relapse. And it's like you have to decide one day that enough is enough, and then you're going to have to hit that stage eventually. And then what? And then you're not going to go back, because the more times you go back, the harder it's going to be each time to get off. And you're going to have to go through the stage of where it's shitty for a while. And regardless, it's just going to be shitty for a while, and you get used to shitty for a while. Some people, their normal day is your shitty day. So I mean, in some people's really, really shitty day is your normal day. So we can't even compare. You just have to wake up and don't even think about it. You just think of what can I get done today. And there's days where I don't want to even go to the gym, but I just force myself, and then I say I can't. That's all I can do. I'm sweating and withdrawals coming in, kicking in. I'm drenched. I did it all I could do. So just ask yourself, like, if you're going through that, just expect the process. Don't expect to be happy. Just expect that this is part of the process, and in the process, if you aren't feeling anything, getting like you have some direction, it's because you have no purpose. But the purpose is right here. You're standing in front of the purpose. You just got to figure out what you're gonna do with it. I think that's where people don't understand. And I mean, there's more than enough of you to be out there helping other people that could save other people from going through what you've gone through. So just don't compare and don't expect a timeline, and don't put yourself down saying I should be motivated today and I'm not. No, your brain is not going to be functioning like it did when it was on crack. I'm sorry.